So we were founded at a time when Columbia was exclusively for men, all right? Like many institutions of higher education in the United States, women were not allowed to study at university. And so Barnard was founded by a group of women who were really persistent and really wanted access to the same type of education that these men at Columbia were receiving. And so that is how we came into existence. You see here a map of Manhattan, which is in the heart of New York City. Barnard is located in the neighborhood of Morningside Heights, right across the street from Columbia University. So if any of you have ever been to New York City, this is right about where Times Square is. The Empire State Building is here. The World Trade Center is here. And we are up in Morningside Heights. So if you've ever visited, we are in a more residential, quiet neighborhood. Our neighborhood is home to about 7 institutions of higher learning, so we like to refer to ourselves as the academic metropolis of New York City. But students have the opportunity to pursue courses both at Barnard and at Columbia. So as I've said before, it's a liberal arts college. We are small. There are about 2,500 women from around the world. We have about 10% international, so non-US citizens. But overall, 14% are students who are coming from overseas, including your American peers who have been studying abroad and are returning to the mainland for university. So as a Barnard student, as I said before, our culture is such that we are integrated with Columbia. So even though we are a women's college, you will have access to co-educational learning opportunities as well as extracurriculars. The idea of a women's college may seem a little strange in the year 2018, but the reality is we very much operate in a male-dominated world, okay? So we give space to women, to people who identify as women, to pursue their learning to the highest degree, uninhibited by cultural expectations, cultural norms. They can pursue sciences and math, the STEM-related fields, those fields that have been predominantly for males in the profession. And we provide a space where women can see other women leading and succeeding, and it becomes very normalized. All positions of leadership at the college are held by women, so everyone from the president to the deans to the student body president, etc., all women. All the resources that we have on our campus that many of us share within the United States, so residential life, student housing, student dining services, all of these institutions were created at Barnard with the needs and wants of women from all around the world in mind, okay? So you have your own space, really, to shape your own future, and that is something that we try very hard to promote, but keep in mind that you won't be isolated from the opposite gender because Columbia is right across the street, and when you graduate from Barnard, your Barnard degree is conferred by Columbia University. So it's a tradition every year that on graduation day, Barnard women march across the street to Columbia's campus, where they sit with the entire university community, and at some point the president calls the president of Barnard College up to present the degrees of the candidates, and then he confers the Columbia University official confirmation that these degrees are valid. Even though we aren't, and so there's a shot of our gate, the main gates to Barnard College. You can see Columbia right across the street, and you can see some Columbia students coming over to take classes at Barnard. We did a recent survey, and we have an equal exchange of Barnard women going across the street as we do Columbia women and men coming across the street to take courses at Barnard. Even though we are in New York City, we are a residential campus, okay? So we offer housing, and it's guaranteed upon admission for all 4 years. We have 12 residence halls scattered around the neighborhood of Morningside Heights. So you will have the opportunity to engage in a learning community, not only in the classroom, but also in the dorms. Between Columbia and Barnard, we have over 500 different clubs and organizations that you can participate in. And then, of course, being in New York City, you have access to research opportunities, internship opportunities, and really the classroom does become, the city does become an extension of the classroom. Outside of the 4 walls of the classroom, you are learning about art history that is actually in New York City. You are studying writers who grew up and who really honed their craft in New York City. So it is definitely a very dynamic place to live and learn. It's a place where you as a student are constantly pushed by the city, but you learn to push back. And coming from Hanoi, that's probably not very foreign to you. You live in a major metropolis as well, so it should feel like home. But we do have winter. You see here that students are wearing some coats and hats. This is probably before the first snowfall. You can see the pine on the light post there, meaning it's December. So I will have more time to answer specific questions about Barnard and about the admission process for Barnard, but we do have other institutions here that are represented, and I know that we are, your time is precious, so I will pass the floor over to Kaylani representing Davidson. Thank you all so much.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Kaylani Lopna from Davidson College in North Carolina. Our colleague Joe did a great job of setting the foundation for liberal arts, for a women's liberal arts college and women's education. The next three schools you'll hear from are co-ed schools, which means we have a good percentage of men and women, but small in size, like Barnard, right? So that's one of the hallmarks of a liberal arts education. Each one of us, as we're speaking, we're also going to share with you attributes about our colleges and how the reading process, when we're reading your applications, it also relates to attributes, right? So as we're reading applications, we look for things that resonate with the mission of our schools. We look for how you might be a good fit for our schools, and that's through your writing, and that's through how you present yourself, through your academic level, and how you might be successful on our campuses and a good community member. Community is a really big deal at liberal arts colleges. Being a community member that can be counted on, you're going to show up for class, you're going to be prepared for discussion, you are going to show up for a club that you decide to join. You decide you're going to go on one of the outings with the outdoors club, you're going to show up and you go because you sign up. So you are an accountable member of our community. I want to gauge who's in the room. So who is working on their application now because they're graduating high school the next year? A little higher, a little higher. This is your final year of high school. 2 of you. How about you're in your junior year? So you have 2 years left of high school. Sophomore year? Who's younger than that? Who's a parent? Who's a parent or a family member? Okay? All right, I didn't see all hands go up. I'm missing. Are there students who already graduated from high school a few years ago and you're looking for, who's already in university? Is anyone already in university? Okay. Are you looking for transfer options or are you looking for graduate school? So transfer, raise your hands. Graduate school. Okay, so this is a really good point. We're all liberal arts and science colleges, which means we educate students for undergraduate only, for the bachelor's degree. So none of us here has a graduate school. Technically, most liberal arts and science colleges don't offer graduate programs because we educate students usually between the ages of 18 and 22, 18 and 23, depending on when one starts university. A piece of that is because we're residential. Students live on campus for all 4 years, so they're often within students they're going to be living with within that age range as well. There are many great universities in the United States that offer graduate degrees, but we're not any of them. So I just want to clarify that we only offer the bachelor's degree and for students seeking their first bachelor's degree. So they're coming for that initial bachelor's degree. All right, so here's Davidson in North Carolina. Here are some pictures of Davidson to give you an idea of what you might see. That is a city skyline. That's not Davidson. We're in a small town of 12,000 residents. It's small. That's the city of Charlotte. Charlotte is about 20 minutes north. Things that I want to tell you about Davidson. You're going to grab a brochure. You're going to see all of our majors. You're going to see what's offered. This is what I want you to really understand. We have a great focus on interdisciplinary education. That means when you're studying at Davidson and you decide to study economics, you're going to be taking a course on economic access to healthcare, the effect of migration on economies around the world. You're thinking about the financial markets of economics, but you're also thinking about how you really use economics in most everything that we decide on, in most decisions and how they get made. How are they going to affect economies and trends that are around the world? I also want you to be thinking about, you might take a computer science course. How do you use psychology within computer science? Especially for your generation with artificial intelligence and thinking about machine learning. So machine learning, and then how does it have emotional response? That's using psychology with computer science. If you're thinking about, HIV/AIDS epidemic, that affects many countries around the world. If you look at it from a cellular perspective at Davidson, but in the same class as that biology teacher, you have an English professor who's having you read literature and poetry and memoirs and how HIV/AIDS affects a family, a community, and a nation. So you have the social science approach, and then you also have the very scientific approach. That's interdisciplinary education, because when you leave a place like Davidson, we want to make sure that you're not in a silo of how you respond to questions. You're not thinking about global climate change from only the perspective of your environmental studies class. You're thinking about the decisions our politicians make. How does that affect global climate change? Ethically, the way we interact with the world, how does that affect global climate change? We want you to be able to take a very broad approach to pressing issues around the world. That's why we focus on a very interdisciplinary education. Our honor code is at the core of everything we do. We have this philosophy at Davidson of doing the right thing when no one else is looking. You get full trust of your faculty to take your exams by yourself, in an empty classroom, in the dining hall, because we trust that students are coming to Davidson for the academic integrity of the knowledge base that they're gaining, not just to get an A, right? It'd be really easy to pull out your notes and cheat. That totally violates the ethics of Davidson and the trust that you get from your professors. So that's why this honor code is important to us. That's why when I read your applications, we ask for a peer recommendation letter. How do you treat your friends, right? Are you a trustworthy friend? Do you make good decisions, not just for yourself, but for the benefit of others? What do your teachers say about you? Are you a student who's helpful to others, helpful in class? We look for things that might help us better understand the way you operate within society. We're also looking for students who want to be part of a small community, right? There's no place to hide when you're in a place of 2,000, in the sense when you go to class and you have 15 classmates. If you didn't do the reading, people are going to know, right? We're looking for students who have worked hard in high school. You get excited about what you're learning. You show up to class having done the reading and prepared. That's what I'm looking for in your applications. I'm looking for students who have worked hard. Students are curious about their academics. Students who also want to think about all the opportunities they might have, and they come and they take advantage of them. Also in this brochure, you're going to see a few students, or a group of students, some of whom have already graduated from Davidson, and I talk about how they took advantage of grant opportunities at Davidson, and some of whom are still current students, or what they're doing. I think Andrew Wu is a fabulous example of liberal arts. He was a mathematics and philosophy double major. So very disparate areas of study, two different areas of major. That's completely normal within the liberal arts colleges. He received grant funding from Davidson to study the impact of existentialism on 1980s Chinese literature. So that's one. Two, he went to Hawaii and studied organic farming. Is it more beneficial to buy organic or local produce? And then he went to Sri Lanka to study sea turtle conservation. What were his majors again? Math and philosophy. This is what we hope for in every single student. Students who are curious and they take advantage of the opportunities, and they take their summers and they go and do things that might not necessarily be related to their major. You might get a fabulous internship. Andrew did that too. He got an internship with the Max Planck Institute in Germany, which is a computer software institute. This fall, he just started at Stanford to get his PhD in computer science. What were his majors again? Math and philosophy, and now he's going for computer science. That's liberal arts. That is a liberal arts education. These are just some examples of what your student life might look like. Anybody recognize this guy here? Steph Curry. We have some Steph Curry fans in the audience. Yes, Steph Curry played basketball at Davidson. He was a student at Davidson. These are some special grant funding opportunities I just want to share with you. An Alvarez Access program is an endowed program that brings a full-time staff member in the Center for Career Development, specifically for students who are on student visas to study in the U.S. to help them navigate job opportunities and internships, because a lot will have to do with your visa status after you graduate. A Meet My World grant, which encourages international students to bring an American friend home. You might become really good friends with your roommate. You might become really good friends with someone you meet in class. They've never been to Vietnam. They haven't even been to Asia before. So they might be able to come to your home. The college pays for it, so they get to know you know, where you grew up, right? They want to get to know your family, getting to know your culture. So this is something we encourage at Davidson. And the Weinstein Travel Grant is for international students to see different parts of the United States, because we want you to know more than just the Southeast. We had a student who was a theater major, and she went to a film festival in Seattle and was a volunteer there to learn more about the Northwest. We had a student who was very interested in farming in the United States. She volunteered and worked on farms in Iowa, Colorado, and California to compare different types of farming and different sized farms within the U.S. So that's just different types of funding that's quite unique that we have for Davidson international students. You can get in touch with a senior admission fellow. That's also in the brochure. If you have Instagram, the Davidson Daily is a student-run Instagram that gets you to understand Davidson better from students and visually. And we have puppies at Davidson a couple times a year. During exam week, we have a lot of faculty members and staff and community members bring their dogs and puppies to campus, because there's data out there that says it helps with stress relief, right? You pet a puppy, you look a dog in the eyes, they want to cuddle with you, so we do that to help. So these are just things that, you know, I think are pretty unique to liberal arts colleges and places in the U.S., that we do things that are going to make your 4 years the most successful possible. My colleague at Denison will now share a bit about Denison, and then we'll be with you a little later. Thank you.
So my name is Bryce Benton. I'm the Associate Director of Admission at Denison. Not to be confused with Davidson, I know we have similar names. But what I'm going to do is kind of give you an introduction to our campus and talk a little bit about how we review applications and what we look for in applicants. You'll probably find that there's a lot of content that we're repeating because often the way we review students, the way we admit students is pretty similar, in part because we're pretty similar colleges in terms of our size, our style, and kind of our focus as institutions. So you might hear some themes kind of repeated throughout, but you'll probably find some slight differences as well. So that's a picture of Swayze Chapel at Denison. Now, although that's a religious chapel, a religious building, we're not religiously affiliated. That's our Center for Religious and Spiritual Life. It's also our main event center on campus and one of the most famous buildings in the center of our campus. It's also the highest point in our county where we're located. But it's kind of like an iconic image of the campus. So when you talk to many Denison students, oftentimes they'll look at that and remember their memories and all the fun times and great experiences they had as a student at Denison. So just like to show that as kind of a visual image of the campus. Now Denison is located in the state of Ohio. So here's a map of the United States right here with Ohio circled and then an arrow pointing to where we are. We're in Granville, Ohio, which is just outside of the city of Columbus. Has anybody here been to the United States before? Yeah? A few? Okay. Where have you been? Boston? Okay, very nice. And then you? New York? Okay. So I take it you haven't been to Ohio, which is okay. Usually if I ask people where they've been to in the US, Boston, New York, maybe California are some popular answers, and for good reason. Those are great places. If you're considering going to the US, I would just keep an open mind about other locations. They have a lot to offer. Ohio is an amazing place. I was born and raised in Columbus myself. And we're just about 30 minutes outside of Columbus, and Columbus is the capital of the state of Ohio. It's a city of over 2 million people, so it's a pretty big city, has a lot to offer. But Denison itself is located in a pretty small town. You'll find a lot of liberal arts and sciences colleges, like Davidson, Denison, Franklin, and Marshall, are located in smaller communities, in smaller towns. And Granville's no exception. This is a picture of Granville here. It's actually technically a village. It's not even a city because there's less than about 6,000 people that live there. But that offers you some great opportunities in terms of it being very safe, very welcoming and friendly community to be a part of. And a lot of times students think that you're in a small town, you have a small experience, and that's definitely not the case. You come to a place like Denison, I'm amazed at how our students fill their schedules with classes, with extracurricular activities, sports, internships, research programs. And when you come to a liberal arts college like ours, you get really good access to that stuff. You're not competing with thousands of other students to get involved with research projects, to join a sports team, to start a club or organization. So you really have the power to influence change, to really dictate your experience at the college. So liberal arts colleges really offer that type of experience. So really encourage you to consider going to liberal arts college, whether it's Denison, Davidson, Franklin, Marshall, or Barnard, or another. I think it can be a really life-changing experience. And really it's a type of institution that you find in the United States that you don't see in many other places around the world. What being a liberal arts college means to Denison, though, Keilani talked a lot about some of the themes that we really value and essential to what we believe is a liberal arts college experience, which is the small size. So there's only about 2,300 students at Denison. The average class size is only 16 students, so not even this big right here, maybe half the room. And that just gives you better access to your faculty, better access to resources on campus. Again, you're not competing with thousands of other students for internships, for research programs, things like that. And we intentionally keep it that size. Now, it's not so small that you see the same person walking from your dormitory to your classroom every day. There's enough size and diversity of people, of opportunity, to make it feel like it's a big experience. But we do keep it intentionally small because we think that's where students can grow the most, in that more intimate environment. And then we're completely residential, so students live on our campus all 4 years of their undergraduate program. We have 20 different residence halls at Denison, ranging from different types of living and learning communities to one-bedroom apartments. So it's a very comfortable and nice place to live, a lot of different options. But the living and learning experience is really essential to what it means to be a liberal arts college. And we really value that. We believe strongly that education doesn't stop when you leave the classroom. It happens in your home life, it happens in your social activities, as well as a traditional classroom setting. So the living and learning experience really builds into that, and that your college experience extends 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then third is that we're only undergraduate, so we don't offer any master's or PhD programs, which isn't uncommon for liberal arts colleges. And that allows us to specialize and focus very intently on the undergraduate student experience. So pretty much everybody on our campus is aged 18 to 22 years old, in a similar place in their life. And all the services, programs, and things that we offer are all designed for that type of student. So up on the board you see some other kind of facts about the college. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about these individual items. I have brochures I can give you that goes into more detail about all this information. Just some things to keep in mind though. One is most all the colleges here were more selective overall. Denison, we had about a 34% admission rate. We have 53 majors to choose from, so a little bit of everything. Most of arts colleges, you won't find programs that are more like professional in nature, like engineering programs, medical programs, those that kind of train you for a specific job skill or something like that. We focus more on holistic learning, so all of our students are required to take general education courses in addition to major courses in your major of choice, whether it's economics or biology or chemistry or something like that. We have 53 majors though. You can take 2 majors at once, you can take a major and 2 minors, there's a lot of options. You can really build the program as you see fit. Some of the most popular majors at Denison include economics, like anything in business. We have a reputation for being a very strong business liberal arts college. Biology, we have our own 400-acre biological reserve on our campus. Programs in theater, so if you like performing arts, like theater, dance, music, excellent programs in those areas as well. But one of the great things is that you don't have to decide. I mean, if you're applying as a first-year student, you have a lot of opportunity to decide later on after you arrive on campus. We offer a lot of flexibility in how you build the program, and you can even change your mind later on as well. So don't worry so much about what you want to study coming in. We view it as our job to help you define what your goals are and what you want to study. Most students change their mind once they arrive on campus. All right, so I'm going to quickly talk a bit about the admission process. Up there you'll see some deadlines for admission, so if you're considering applying to Denison or another college, these dates are usually pretty consistent. We have 2 main admission rounds. One's called early decision, and then another is called regular decision. Early decision is a great option if you're confident that Denison or another college is your top choice. You can only apply to 1 college through early decision, but the admission rate is higher through those rounds typically. So it's a good option if you're confident you have a top choice school to apply early decision. And at Denison, we enroll about 50% of our students through early decision rounds, and we have 2 early decision rounds that are listed there, as well as a regular decision round. Either is fine, but just something to be aware of as you're going through. Many liberal arts colleges will offer both an early decision and a regular decision admission option. And then just a quick note on financial aid and merit scholarships. Now, a lot of our colleges will offer aid and scholarships to international students. At Denison, we meet 100% of demonstrated need for every student that we admit. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on financial aid because we could probably have an entire separate session and talk to you for a long time about the financial aid process in the U.S. And it gets a little complicated, but just know that our goal at Denison is that the Denison education will be attainable given your individual financial circumstances. Okay, so we try to make it affordable for everybody, international students and domestic students, given what you can afford individually. So just something to keep in mind, and we do that through need-based aid and merit scholarships. So we do offer both to international students. And about 17% of our students are international from over 40 countries. And Vietnam is the second largest country represented among our international students, so we do have a pretty good sized Vietnamese population as well. But I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to ask Marty to come up and tell you about Franklin and Marshall, and then we'll see if you guys have questions and take it from there. Thank you, guys.
Okay, last but hopefully not least, my name is Carly Mangus, and I represent Franklin and Marshall. I graduated from F&M myself as a student, so full disclosure, I'm very biased for my own college, and I've been working there for about 6 years now. F&M, as we call it, is located, as you can see, in a very green area. Lancaster, Pennsylvania is a city of about 55,000 people, so we would consider that fairly medium. And we're outside of Philadelphia and about 3 hours from New York City, which are those major metropolis areas that you may fly in and out of the international airports for, or you can go to for entertainment. But where you'll come back to, where your college home will be, is a cleaner, greener, safer environment than if you were in a more downtown area. And for some students, that's an important consideration. For some students, they prefer to be in a much larger city. And so that's a bit of our culture there, is being a little bit more rural. Across the street from our campus is one of our students' favorite restaurants. It's actually attached to one of the dormitories and serves several different kinds of popular Asian foods. It serves Thai, Chinese, and Vietnamese food. And there's another restaurant we go to a lot that's about a 5-minute walk from campus. It's a very international place, as I'll explain. First, a little bit about our academics. I've listed just a few of our most popular or unique majors. We're undergraduate only, and you can do research in any program that we offer. We have 43 different majors, but business, biology, psychology, also political science or government are our largest, most popular programs, along with economics, often in the top 5. Animal behavior, geology, and the philosophical studies of the mind are some of the most unique programs that we offer. And students seek out F&M for a very specific specialization in those areas. But I'll be able to give you information after our chat about all the programs that we offer. The college, interesting trivia fact, is older than the statehood of Pennsylvania. And so for our country, that's a really, really old institution. And so there's a lot of history and tradition tied up in F&M because one of the founders of the college was one of the founding fathers of the United States. And so that mission, Ben Franklin, who we're named for, if you know a little bit about him, does tie in the fact that he himself was a bit of a man of the liberal arts. He was an inventor, he was a printer, he dabbled in map making and science experiments very amateurish